All right, everybody, this is Sheets, and I have McCool on here. And what we're going to be doing is a video displaying more uses for the portfolio manager tool that is on Paydirt. For those of you that have been following me, I have been using it very specifically and directed specifically for UFC with respect to figuring out which of my lineups are more likely to be duped less, and thus making a more profitable play. Because I found that there were real difficulties predicting dupes using the traditional methods, either using geomean filtering or using Sabre Sims, dupe predictor or whatever. And like anything else, I mean, James, it does other things, except for just predicting dupes. This tool that I created reminds me about the Seinfeld thing where he got him that organized this whole computer organizer, and he says, "Oh, can I figure out the tip on it?" So he said, "Oh, you see my new tip calculator, right? It does other things, So the problem is because I'm older and I just kind of used to my processes. It just takes me a little longer to figure out how to use it. But once I do figure out how to use something, it's going to be, I think, really game changing. And the better I can understand it, the better I can explain it to other people. So what I did to start with is I'm sharing the screen. And before we even get started, I'm not even sure the answer to this. Is this available currently on Paydirt? Is it behind the paywall? Is it still in beta? Before we even get into it, can people even use this?
Yeah, so technically it is still in beta. This is one of the more polished ones. So anything that you find in the experimental dropdown over on Paydirt,
Okay.
that is all free to use stuff. It's
Okay.
stuff that is things that I know still have some bugs or I know still cause some issues that are not like network oriented or anything like that, right?
Okay.
Um, so I'm trying to be better about beta testing things out. These are all free to use for now over at
Okay.
Paydirt.
Okay.
The portfolio manager very soon is likely going to start to be paywalled. It's gotten rigorous testing at this point. You use it, multiple Paydirt members use it, have success with it. Like it's good and it's proven out. The only question that I have had with portfolio manager at this point is if I want to add any extra functions to it. I've considered adding a resim to it, but I, I don't know.
Well, we'll talk.
Um,
We'll talk about that. Yeah,
yeah.
one of the things again for another video is he displayed his part of his the contest analyzer. James posted some results of that on X and within the Discord as well, and that's obviously a big deal nowadays to figure out how your lineups did, not just based on results, but based on what they were expected to perform and how they did dupes relative to the rest of the field and stuff like that. So we'll do another video on this. Now I've become a little bit better with this for UFC. We're going to do this for the baseball slate today, though. So before we even get into this, would you consider this tool more of a tool to analyze and perfect, I guess, lineups you've already created, as opposed to something that's going to create lineups for you? Is that fair? Or can you actually, can you actually create lineups from this page? Probably not, right?
So no, if you this is a third-party portfolio management tool
Right.
specifically. So it is meant to take in lineups that you have created and then make them more efficient or give you a better chance to win or lower your dupes or just manage your portfolio. The idea here is not to put in 150 lineups and then just have them be in there. The idea here is to parse down a large set, a bulk set of lineups
Yep.
to then figure out which ones are best for the contest that you're playing in. So typically what I do is I load in 10,000 lineups from the optimal set over at Paydirt and
Okay.
then parse those down.
Well, this is
Um,
this is what we're going to do. Okay, so
yep.
there are a couple of things you have to do kind of in preparation for this. And when I've already done the preparation for this particular video. So there are a couple of Excel sheets that you have to kind of create. One is the projections file. Two is and we'll get into this, whether there's still a need for the CSV file. If you're going to use SabreSim, whether you need to kind of teach it to recognize the differences between how SabreSim displays their players. We'll get to that in a second. And then this portfolio file. So what I'm going to be doing now that I'm more familiar with this, James, I'm gonna get my tech guy to actually, whenever I run my projections, to automatically create like sheets, with these templates, so that I don't have to do them manually anymore. So like for example, you want to create your projections file. So I'll show you. I already did that, and I'll just let me see what it looks like. So usually when I do UFC, I don't have to use position or team. Okay. I did it for the purpose of this video, but is it necessary in baseball to put in the position and team or not really?
It's not necessary, but or actually, it is necessary for team, I think, because it's gonna tell you that you need to do like one way or another, you should leave those column headers in there. Let me be clear on that, because if it can't find any of those column headers, it will break the system. So
Okay.
first off, always leave those in there one way or another. Um, Secondly, with this, go ahead and try to load it with position and team blank. Just clear those out and let's see if it breaks it.
Okay. Let's try on that. That's the CSV file. Let's pull up the projection file again. Um, so we want to leave team and position blank. Okay,
Yeah, just clear those out and let's see if it breaks it.
And let's save it as something different so that I keep my other one. All right, so let's X this out first.
Yep.
Let's see what happens. Nah, for now, it looks okay, right?
Yeah, we'll see what it looks like when you
We'll see what
actually
happens.
load it
We'll see what
in.
happens. Okay, so now I'm going to be uploading full lineups from SaberSim.
Yeah.
So I presume that we still have to uh, do the CSV template step, or do we not have to do that anymore?
Yes, you do.
Okay, so I've already done that. I've already done
that.
that. Yeah, I've already done that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. The reason for that is for matching between each of the individual things and grabbing the IDs.
Yep. So I created a CSV file from your template, which, it asks you what the name of the person is and the ID, and then it automatically just does this.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. So now the next question is what to put in the portfolio file. So what I did, I didn't do a 5,000. I did 1,000 lineups. Okay. So I did 1,000 lineups, and the way I did it is I ran my usual SaberSim process. The only thing I didn't do is I didn't run the contest sims yet. I just ran like the 5,000, rated by Saber score type pseudo upside lineups, whatever, just to see what this does to it. Okay. So let's see if this works. So we call this, well, I'm at 1,000 lines. I call it 100 lines. Okay. So far so good. Like it hasn't yelled at me yet.
Really quick, just as a note, up above that upload portfolio file, note that it says what source are you uploading from?
Yes.
And I have it defaulting to SaberSim, but you can also upload, say, from DraftKings FanDuel. Like if you export the lineups that you already have uploaded to DraftKings,
Yep.
you can do that. Or you can do just names as well that do not have the ID. So you can do any one of those three, just a point.
Now, I would say, though, that if you were downloading, this is what I run into sometimes, if you're downloading just from DraftKings, then you're only downloading what you have. In other words, like if I'm downloading my 150 or whatever from DraftKings and I'm having it analyzed, I mean, the whole point of this, as you were trying to say, is you want to start with a whole bunch of lineups.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Parse down. So if you're just going to download from DraftKings, I mean, you're not doing anything. I mean, you're analyzing, okay, if my 150, 60 of them are good and 90 of them stink, whatever it is. Can you mix match? I guess not, right? Can you put lineups with different formats? No, you probably can't.
No, probably shouldn't do that.
No. Okay. All right. So now we're here. And normally what I do right here was UFC, I was just clicked on manage portfolio. So I presume that's what I would do here. Yeah. Here's always the sweat to see if I broke it. No, look at that. So I didn't. Okay. So select site DraftKings, select sport. Now I'm gonna select this. Does it make a difference yet or no?
For certain sports, yes, but mostly for showdown.
Oh, okay. So enter contest size. Let's leave it here.
Yeah,
Select field strength. Let's put sharp. And you can see when it says running that it's doing something, right?
yeah, recalculating.
Um, so I don't know exactly what it's doing. It's recalculating. Okay.
Mhm.
Now I am not going to do the filter options yet. I want to see it all
Yeah.
before I do that. So let's just hit. What I would just do is hit download portfolio.
So first, what I would say to do
Okay.
is hover over the top right of that table. Scroll down a little bit, and you see the table that was created. A little bit farther, and expand that.
Okay.
So this, you can
Okay.
see all the lineups here,
Yep.
right? It's
Yep.
color coding and everything.
Yep.
And so now you can see a glimpse or an idea of how these lineups look in reference to the different kinds of functions that I have going here. You can see what they're projected to be duped. You can see what their projected finishing percentile is, what their win rate is, the lineup edge, which is the viability of the lineup, basically, as well as weighted own. And over to the right, farther of that is actually the geo mean as well.
What does lineup edge mean?
So lineup edge is a calculation based on the finishing percentile, the dupes, and the median score of the lineup.
Okay.
So this is trying to tell us, based on my calculations, whether a lineup is quote unquote good or bad. A lineup that has a significant negative lineup edge is a lineup that does not have that great of a finishing percentile, does not have that great of a median projection, has high ownership, has dupes. It's going to take into account all the things that you and I know as good players matter when you're building out lineups. So just because a lineup is negative edge does not mean that you cannot play that lineup. I want to be very clear on that. For certain players, when you build out a portfolio, the thing that you're wanting to do is spread out the volatility of your portfolio. So that may mean having a certain amount of lineups that have a certain amount of negative edge, just because even though they do not have a great chance to win the GPP, they still lower the volatility of your portfolio overall. So that's what lineup edge is aiming to do.
Because one of the things that I want to say struggle with is what I do with UFC and is I look at my UFC lineups. Well, excuse me, I upload them into here. I download the whole portfolio, and then what I will do is I will filter out lineups that are duped a certain amount that I don't like, whatever that is. But then after I do that, what I'd like to do is kind of resort it to figure out the 150, best of those. And the word best is very tricky, because what happens, James, is when I upload them, they're usually sorted by ROI, the way I calculate the ROI. And then, but once I upload them into Paydirt and then sort it out by dupes, it Paydirt doesn't have a column for my ROI. You know what I mean? The
Right.
way I originally sorted it. So what I usually do is after I took out the dupes that I don't want, and then I have to figure out whether to resort it. And it's whether sometimes I'll just resort it by median. You know what I mean? If I've already made it not that highly owned, maybe I'll just sort it by median. But I sometimes consider instead of that sorting it by lineup edge, which is why I ask what that is. So either win percentage or lineup edge or something like that. So
So for
lineup
you
edge.
specifically, you would want to be sorting. I mean, lineup edge is going to take into account heavily dupes and finishing percentile,
Okay,
and that is close-ish to what an industry standard ROI calculation is going to take into
I
consider as
see.
well.
I see. I see. Okay.
So you would, for you and your process, you would probably want to say that you're looking for lineups with a low finishing percentile and low dupes, meaning that so finishing percentile, remember this is based on the nth percentile that you're expected to finish in. So finishing with a 1% lineup would be 1% in the finishing percentile projections here.
The lower, the better. Okay.
Yeah, lower is better.
Okay. So, and here's an answer I think I already know. This number here on the left, it doesn't mean anything, correct?
Means nothing. That's just an index number for when you upload it. And actually, technically, if you were to upload based on your ROI calculation,
So
that
this,
would be
so this one would be like the 10th highest ROI, you're saying, according to my,
yes. Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Okay. So what I would do now is I would download these, I guess,
Yep.
just to play with it, I guess. So let's
And
download
you
this,
can do that, or
or you
let's
can
stay
just
in
go
here
back
real
and
quick.
sort, right?
Yep. So you can do some other things in here. You can show your process obviously as well, but there are other functions in here that can do a lot of the things that you do in your computer that people might not have set up on their own.
Well, I have no process for baseball on this tool, so that's the good news.
Sure.
So like this is see this to me just looks like an MMA process for me.
Yeah.
Um, so like from this point, I would have no idea really what to do like with this. Like for example, I don't know of this. Not that it matters, but I don't know of this group how many five-man stacks there are. Not I don't even know if it matters. I don't know how many min uniques I have or whatever. All I got is 100. I have 1,000 lineups that are sorted. They're not. They're waiting for me to sort, I guess, in whatever way I want it. So, I mean, one way I guess I would consider using this is just saying, you know what? Let's just sort the effort by lineup edge, fire them all off, and then just rock the house. Okay, but give me a little process. Give me a little tip of how I should use this.
Yeah, so as far as it goes with the stack type stuff, one of the things that I do before I load is because when you export the optimals from Paydirt, it shows you what the stack size is for your lineups. Also,
I've already put in lineups that I like. Okay, I get
yeah,
it.
yeah. So when you do this, you're assuming that you have a base of lineups that like are acceptable. Now, if you don't care about the specific aspects of the lineups that you're uploading, if you're just like, just give me the best lineups, I don't care about roster construction,
Yeah,
just go for it. That's what you can do in MMA, right?
right.
Um, for MLB, there are some other fine-tuned things. And actually, if you do upload when you go through the upload process of your portfolios, if you upload for MLB specifically, if you include a stack column and it has the team that has been stacked, there are some other functionalities in terms of downloading your portfolio that take that kind of stuff into account, and it will show when you're looking at your portfolio. So there are a couple other things that are pre-upload to this that for me I just consider to be something that I just do in my process. So I never thought to add it into this, but maybe worthwhile for me having it do a team count and having it show the stack sizes for MLB, because I don't currently do that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
all of those things being said, why don't you minimize this again the same way that you maximized it? And let's take a look a little bit at the different ways that we can kind of mess with this a little bit.
Yeah.
So one of the things that a lot of people do, so Sheets, how many lineups do you usually play?
Like 60, 65,
665? Okay,
65,
so
65 total.
one of the things that you can do just very easily without even going downloading it, like go to the macro filter options and drop that down. So you can automatically, without going in and doing the thing that you do in your spreadsheet, you can just do that in the app.
Yeah,
So you can say min acceptable lineup edge. Like if you don't want any lineups that are negative, you can just turn that into a 0. You can say min acceptable salary 49,000. That way you're not going to get anything underneath 49,000. You can say max acceptable finish percentile 10% or something like that, right? And then that will, after you hit submit, take all of your 1,000 lineups and parse them down just to match those specific macro filters,
let me
which
ask
is
you.
a good start.
Yeah, let me ask you. What I mean, you created this, and some people use this. Like, what are a couple of best practices in here? In other words, like what is usually a good, if I were going to do it that way? What is a finishing percentile that you think I should be sorting by? What do you think is a lineup edge that I should be sorting by? What do you think is I mean, forget the salary part, but like these numbers that people aren't really used to. What do you think is a good? And you kind of alluded to that earlier when you said, well, in some portfolios you're going to want to have or you need to have lineups with like negative lineup edges or whatever. Um,
Right.
but I mean, is there any number or anything that people told you or whatever that usually works or makes sense here?
So you should usually keep the max finishing percentile high. Like I don't mind keeping it at 50%. And again, that goes towards reducing the volatility of your lineups. Just because a lineup has an average finishing percentile of 19% or something like that, doesn't mean that it's terrible. Like lineups that have an average finishing percentile of 19% win every day, right? So that's not a bad thing. You're just not expected to win. You're expected to min cash on those ones. The one thing that I do every time is change this min acceptable lineup edge to 0%.
Okay.
That way we maintain a neutral balance and we're not getting the negative lineups. I'm more risk accepting, so I don't mind parsing down and getting rid of a whole bunch of negative edge lineups. And you can see that cut your portfolio in half already. You went from
Yep.
1,000 lineups to 495.
Okay.
So now you have all lineups that, according to my calculations, are viable or good, right? They have finishing percentiles that make sense based on their dupe calcs, everything like that. So then now, if you just wanted to download those lineups again, you could. And then you could go through your regular process that you have of saying, okay, I just want to like sort these by X, Y, or Z and go for it. You can also then go down and do micro filtering options where you can see things like locking in players or
Okay.
removing players,
Yep.
right?
Okay.
Now, another thing that you haven't looked at yet. So go up really quick and change back that min acceptable lineup edge back down to negative -0.5. And let's just reset it really quick.
How do you do that?
Just click on it and say negative -0.5. Just type it in and then submit. So now go down to below this table that you see. So there's also player summaries. And this is the player level that is going to give you some information about each player in the portfolio and what they are contributing to the portfolio overall. All right. So Garrett Crochet is your highest owned player, period. Like he's or highest exposed player. Average median of 98, fine. Average ownership 96, fine. Whatever. Average dupes, it's MLB, so you don't care about those things. But something that you might care about is that his average lineup edge is negative 4.9. So now that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get rid of Garrett Crochet. But what it does mean is that you might want to be a little bit more considerate of the Garrett Crochet lineups that you do have and that you are using, right? You can sort this table as well to see like what the largest negative lineup edge is or the highest, right? So average lineup edge, and again, like in the lineup counts, that's going to matter a little bit. You don't really care that much that German Marquez is the lowest average lineup because there's only two lineups with him in there. So whatever. But let's keep this in mind, right? So we know that as it stands, Garrett Crochet is a negative 4.9 percentage, right? On average. So now go back up there and remove and set the min average lineup for lineup edge. Set that to 0 and then submit that.
And see how many crochets we get sort of.
Right. So now when you do that, let's go back down onto that player table and see what we have there.
You gotta figure out which of these to get. I don't want to sort by
So
average.
I would just sort by lineup count because that's what it default sorts by. So there you go. Now you have much less Garrett Crochet,
If
right?
any.
I mean, Garrett Crochet was contributing to quite a few of those negative lineups.
Right. Right. That's
So
interesting.
there's two things that you could do on that, right? I mean, if you wanted to maintain your Garrett Crochet, then what you would do instead is you would remove players on the micro level that might have been with him and making those lineups negative.
Right.
So you would remove any of those guys that were showing up in like 10 lineups or whatever that were negative edge, and those were likely contributing to negative edge for Garrett Crochet as well. So that's something else that I like to do. I like to go through this, and especially this player summary is really important for things like Showdown.
Yeah.
When you're reading through and trying to get an idea of the players that are best to be used in the captain or in the flex or whatever, having an idea of the lineups or the players that have a negative average lineup edge can give you a lot of information about where they should be used.
So okay. So that's actually all of that's very interesting. So now we have for my 1,000, we have 495 lineups.
Yep.
Um, and they're now sorted again by zero. The only ones we have are zero lineup edge or better.
Right. So now you
And
can expand out the table again and take a look and see kind of like what your lineups look like, right?
where do we do that again?
It's just hover over that top right. So now you can see, you have positive lineup edges come across the board. You can see that your medians didn't get affected that badly. Your top overall median was 107 before, so you lost a couple lineups above that 107 or above that 105, but you're still well within range of your top medians that you uploaded. The ownerships went down a bit. Looks like win percentages are still fine, 0.02%. That about makes sense for 25,000 users. Like now with these, if what you wanted to do was just export these,
Yeah.
you could do that. And this is a good base to start with.
So I mean, just
So and there's a yeah, so you can export it there.
and then take the top whatever. Uh, oh, it's over here. And then if I obviously I'd have to cut and paste and whatever. Right. So this obviously does not upload directly to DraftKings. We got to put that into our.
Well,
Into,
it should have all the player IDs.
no, I know, but it doesn't have the context. That's what I'm saying. So
Oh, right, yeah.
so just to show everybody, this is not this should not be news to anybody. But we go to oops, not creative, but edit entries, download. And again, these are lineups I created um just for the lottery. So I'll put those just right in here. And then I mean this is everybody should know how to do this by now. And upload them. Yeah, now as far as analysis goes, like what percent, ooh, it only uploaded 6 out of 66. Okay.
So
I
when you pasted those, I don't
yeah,
think you took 66 of those lineups. I
yeah,
think
hang on. I'm gonna tell you exactly what happened. So you're gonna like this. This is the total glitch. I'm gonna prove this to you. So hold on. I can't believe I didn't show this to you before. All right. So let's show you again. So let's edit these. Okay, so we're gonna download them. These are the entries. Just to show you what I'm doing. So this is the entry file, right? Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to copy and paste 60 lineups. Okay. You'll see it right here. Ready? Boom. Right? All those went in.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to hit save. And then this is going to go up here. And it's going to say 6 of 66 again. Okay. I believe, I'm going to tell you, I believe this is the case. I almost want to pause the video for this. I think this has to do with I am going to pause this. Hold on.
That's fine. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we found the issue.
So I think we found the issue. Go ahead.
Yeah. So upload, and I will put a little note on this in the app. You have to do CSV first. Because if you do the projections first, there's a process here specifically around the way that IDs are worked for the exporting. If you do projections first and CSV last, it skips the step of grabbing the IDs from the CSV for export. So you can X all of the, I mean, we don't have to do it now. We already fixed it. But just make sure that you do the salary CSV first, and then your portfolio, and then your projections. And I might force it to where those options don't even show up until you have like uploaded a CSV first. Just because we need to make sure that we have those IDs. Because
So
that is an interesting
the,
glitch
the
there.
good thing is I was able to reproduce this in like 2 seconds. So I put the lineup edge at 0 again. I did the exact same thing. And now we could download from here, right? And we still got the 495, and that's always a good test. Now
Oh, wait, you know what else it might have been? It might have been that you clicked download on the table and not the download portfolio button.
That's correct. I did download from the table.
That's what it is. Because if you download the table, it just shows you exactly what you're getting from the table. And if you hit download portfolio, that's where it matches the export IDs.
So this is what we're going to
That's
do.
what it
First,
is.
first we're going to correct this, and then we are going to prove that, which I'm sure is correct. Oops. So now we are going to see 60 lineups uploaded, I presume, changed or whatever.
Ooh, it is raining out there.
And there it is, 66 out of 66. Excellent.
All right.
And again, and just to show you what happens if you don't do that, if you went from here and downloaded straight from here instead, then what's going to happen is it's not going to show the IDs, and that is confirmed. Excellent.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Good debugging.
Great. Now, as I go through this, again, one of the things that I mentioned was that these happen to be 1,000 lineups I created that were not particularly tailored for any particular contest yet. So I probably would have run the contest sims first to make sure that that we're putting the right things in the right things. So I have a question. So can you, like, back from the original thing, like if you went to MLB contest sims, like if you didn't want to create your own lineups outside, you want to create them here, you should probably be able one of these days to just upload those straight to the portfolio manager, no?
Yeah, and you can go. So what I usually do is actually go to the range of outcomes. So go to the MLB range of outcomes. Top them. And then run over to optimals. Hit the info and filters drop down. And then prepare full data export. And then I grab the names just because that's what I'm used to working with. But if you click that, that will give you 10,000 lineups to work with.
Right. So,
and this can be uploaded just straight.
These are actually all numbers.
Yeah, this is just IDs, right? If you click the export, the prepare full data export and use the names instead, then it'll just give you the names.
So just for funsies, right? If we save this and then go back to portfolio manager and upload these, you think it'll recognize them?
I think you might have to delete the index out of that as well. You left the index in before the starting pitcher one. The idea was to mimic the way that, like SaberSim or whatever spits out the lineups.
So this, you think like this would be okay? Oh, look at this. We have 1-0 here.
Yeah, we got a 0 in there. I'm not sure what that is.
Well, we'll solve that. There you go. So let's just see what this does. So now, because it's just IDs, we're still going to tell
the same
it.
process that you have with SaberSim.
That's right. That's right. So let's go back to
models and tools for the experimental.
Yep. Then it won't remember what we had before. So let's again put these from here, which was we got to do CSV first, right?
Yep, do CSV first.
Okay. Then project. Does it matter what you do next?
Do portfolio next.
Oh.
I usually, we read left to right, so I always start left to right.
Well, we're going to try to confuse it. So, and then, it's in a different spot. Optimal's export. Well, let's see what this looks like. Okay. Oh, he's got a 0 in there. Let's see if that breaks the whole thing. 1-0.
I don't think it should, but we'll see.
It did a little bit. Okay.
Did. Yeah, so if the player isn't in there, and what I think, so let's try to download just based on names. I need to go in and make it so that that removes any lineups that have none.
So you want me to change? Oh, you want me to go back to the range of outcomes? Okay.
Go grab the names.
Go to range of outcomes. And then we are going to info and filters, right? And then
Go to optimals, not the ROO.
optimals. And then
Go ahead and prepare full data export.
right.
And then export set names.
But now what we have to do is we have to change the projection file. Right?
You shouldn't have. Well, I mean, if you want to use Paydirt's projections, then you
Okay,
would,
let's use that. Okay.
yeah. So remove everything except for the lineups here.
Save
Good.
this.
Yep.
And now we go back into then we don't have to do anything, right?
We'll still load up the CSV because we want the IDs, right? For export.
Oh, okay. But we don't you have to do a projection file, right? Because
Well, you do because you need to be able to match against.
right, but I don't my projection file has
Well, there's naming logic that does come in handy here. So you can try to use your projections
let's try it.
and then load up the portfolio from Paydirt.
And so do we put Saber Sim just IDs or
So you're going to do names here. They're just names.
let's just see what happens.
So now if you scroll down below these, you'll see that it matched certain names.
Okay.
And then there were 14 names found in the portfolio without matches in the projections. And those are probably just from when I ran this morning, right?
Okay. That's it. That's pretty cool, actually. Okay. All right. So now you think if I hit manage portfolio, it's not going to give me pink letters?
Let's find out.
I don't know. We're going to find out. This is the sweat. This is the tech sweat.
It's always
Oh my God. Look at that. Genius.
Look at that. So this is, like I said, 10,000 lineups.
Yep.
And because there were names that did not match
Right.
between the files, there will be certain lineups in here that containing those names are likely going to have a salary median ownership drop because that's the big thing that name matching matters for, right? It's doing the math to find out what the salary median and ownership of the lineups are. So keep that in mind. If you use two separate files from an optimizer and a projection, it will try to find the names between those two. But in order to match them perfectly, sometimes it's not going to be able to match.
Anything else you want to show me in here or no?
So the last thing that I would show is the trimming options. And this is more for 20 max and for single entry 3 max people. So what the trim will do is it will say, here's the sorting variable, which is basically like how you would sort it based on, median or finishing percentile. Median is going to be the highest overall median to lowest, and then finishing percentile is lowest to highest. And then the trimming variable, and you can use own or weighted own or geomean. And what this is going to do is it's going to say, okay, you have a lineup, and the trimming logic is basically saying You do not want any lineup that has more ownership than the median deserves. So if you have your top lineup here is a median of 103.83 and the ownership is 122. All right. So what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, any lineup that has a median of 103 or less cannot have an ownership above 122.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
So the next lineup is 124. It's going to remove that one. The ownership is too high based on the median that it has. So it's going to keep doing that. And then when it gets to the next lineup, so down to lineup looks like 1843, that one has an ownership of 116. That's the next one that's below 122. It's going to add that one in, and now that's the new highest ownership that it will accept. So then it won't accept anything over 116. So then it's going to cut out that 121, the 126, the 122. And then 111 is the next one that's below 116. So then that's now the new max. So you can see that as the median goes down, the ownership also has to go down proportionally. So if you click trim, you're going to see that in action. And just do it on median owned so that you can see what happens. And out of 1,000 lineups, we now have 57 lineups that have a median justified ownership. And you can see that it's perfectly cascading down. It's justified all the way through.
I don't know how I feel about that, but it's definitely cool that it can do that.
So what the aim of this is to say that for any lineup that you have a median of X, if you have a lineup that is a lower median, there's
But,
never a
but
reason.
there's no reason to have a higher ownership for a lower median. Okay.
Right. That's exactly right.
That's
So I like to do this on the weighted ownership because I think that that's a little bit more important.
what does weighted ownership mean?
So weighted ownership takes into account the range between the highest owned player and the lowest owned player in the lineup. So it not only takes into account the total sum ownership, but then also gives it a ratio based on how high owned or low owned the player is. So what, like if you have a lineup that is, you have two lineups that are both 200% ownership, right? Um, if one of those lineups has a really wide range between the highest owned player in the lineup and the lowest owned player in the lineup, it will have a lower weighted ownership. And the reason why that's important is because obviously, if you're thinking about the way to gain relative value, you have to have lower owned players to pass the field. So even though two lineups might have a 200% sum ownership, if a lineup has 4% owned players, right? And then a whole bunch of other high owned players, that lineup technically has a lower weighted ownership because you have more relative value introduced because of those 4% owned players that you have mixed in with the very high owned players, rather than having a whole bunch of guys that are at 20% each.
I like this because every once in a while I try to think of how to do that. You know, when I have like a whole bunch of lineups, I'm trying to just sort in some way, and you have like 17 different variables, and you're trying to figure out what's the most important, and to be able to do that kind of smartly
Yeah.
is
So if you expand this table, you can actually see the weighted ownerships next to the ownership.
right.
So you can see that like there are lineups in there that even though the ownership, the sum ownership goes lower, like there's some weighted ownerships there with lineup 9, that weighted ownership is 81. That's 12 points higher than the lineup above it.
Well, can you screw around with that with the trimming also? I mean,
Yes, you can. Yeah. So minimize that again and then reset your portfolio above. So that'll bring you back up to the 1,000. And then if you want to use set the sorting variable for median and the trimming variable for weighted ownership.
oh, but these are the choices. So it's median, so it's finishing percentile or median,
Right.
and versus uh geo mean or weighted ownership. Okay.
Right.
Same question. I mean, you know, any best practices? Like, what do you think is usually the best combination of these two?
I think finishing percentile with weighted ownership is very strong.
Okay. Well, as I like to say, you know, like with all this stuff that we went over, and the question is, oh, you think it will be improving performance? I guess there's only one way to find out, right? So we're gonna try it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to stop the recording. We're probably going to just throw this into the onto the various channels, and I think people like to see the struggle, sort of.
Yeah,
Um,
I do too.
and you will compare this to one that I'll do probably in like a month, where I'm like lightning with this stuff. Let me. So okay. So I guess that's it. This is be the first of probably several um, uh, discussions of the various portfolio management tools. And the idea again is we're going to try to figure out, good ways for Paydirt to, I don't say cater to improve like MME play and MME players, because you usually, as you were mentioning yesterday, the general idea wasn't originally for MME, but you certainly have the ability to do it. And as you mentioned, I mean, like when football comes around, then we get into freaking showdown season. Um, that's probably going to be really fun.
Yeah, I think this tool is going to fucking crush Showdown. Like, I mean, it has proven out to be very strong for Showdown and for niche sports. There are a couple high level users that use it to just dominate. I think that in NFL for Showdown season, this tool is going to be invaluable. I think like just based on the weighted ownership and the dupe prediction stuff, I think it's going to be just better than what other people have at their disposal. So we need to get used to using it.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to stop the recording. Hang in there for just a second, James.